Okay, welcome back. So today I want to talk about training your team or training a point person on your team to do government contracting. And this video is specifically for you if you are watching this as an owner, as someone perhaps that's been running a commercial-based business or an existing business for a number of years, and you've kind of been looking at the federal space from afar. Maybe you've even gone as far as, getting a cage code, doing some hurdles. Maybe you've gotten on GSA schedule, maybe you got set-asides, things like that too. But you're still not exactly where you want to be or where you need to be kicking off the wing, if you will, of your business that's designated to federal contracting. So there can be, I should say there's obvious reasons why you would want to set up a federal contracting wing. But then there's also obvious restrictions or challenges that come along with that. And that's going to be, as an owner, your time. And I've had many conversations. I've seen it many times. I know it pretty well at this stage, what it's going to look like trying to do this. And it's very obvious as to why you're probably still in the position that you are in, which is not having some sort of system, some sort of process or plan set up for your business where you're securing federal contract awards for your business, right? It's not going down to the bottom line yet. You're not pulling contracts down, getting them awarded. You're not attending site visits. You're not going after the opportunities you want to. Maybe you scroll on occasion and you say, yeah, we could have went after that one. We could have bid on this one, but it's still the same challenge as your time. And also perhaps it's the knowledge, the knowledge set. Because even if you had the time or designated the time, do you know what it's going to require, what it's going to take to go after these opportunities yourself? And furthermore, if you're going to train somebody, you don't really want to set up your point person to fail. So for these reasons being said, you just don't. You don't make the investment, you don't move forward, you don't invest in training them, you don't invest in training yourself. Maybe you don't find that there's great opportunities out there, but the opportunity is real to scale and grow your business in the federal space. And maybe because you're an established business, maybe you do have the budget. Maybe investing probably isn't the primary concern. You just want to make sure that the money's invested properly so that you are going to have a tangible return on whatever that investment is going to be, right? So I think it's an important conversation. I've set the stage for it now. And it's not a conversation that I've really had on this channel, to be honest with you, too much. Maybe one other video. So I'm curious what the response will be in this video over time. If owners are finding this video, or maybe some of you regulars here on the channel who watch, almost all the videos I put out, maybe you are owners, maybe you do have a team, or maybe you have a point person in mind whom, if you could get them up to speed, you think it could be next level. You think it could be game changing for your business. So definitely let me know. Let me know even down in the comments. Like if this is like, Derek, you're talking to me. That would be good to know. So there's some things that come to mind for me when we're looking at, what that could look like. And I think as an owner, that might be something, interesting to talk about in this video. So one of the things that I've shared in like client calls and things in the past, one of the more immediate things that I like to see kind of either taken off your plate or trained on and designated immediately with this is, number one, kind of the vetting and delegation of prospecting, of opportunities, not operations, but opportunities. And the designation of that off of your plate, if that would be you or is you, to somebody else. You are able to provide a series of filters whether it's geographic location, whether it's dollar value, right? Certainly NAICS code. Along with that should be target agencies, right? Response due date, set aside. These filters, you can have another person do. You can have another person set up those saved searches, but you don't check out just because I say saved searches. Manual searches are important too. There are a lot of good opportunities that are put under different NAICS codes, for example, and so you miss them. Maybe you see them after the response deadline has passed. So having a designated person, number one, on the prospecting side of things, I want them coming to you saying, hey, boss, it's like bringing in the crab or the fish nets, right? This is what we have for the day. Now, number two, once you get to that stage, you do have to vet. You do have to sort. You have to create two piles. Sort the good opportunities from the bad opportunities. That could be, I'm 50-50 on this one for number two. This could be a delegation as well as part of a point person's duties. It could. I think the more they are trained, the more you trust them to know, like, not just your business, but you personally, like what you want to go after. Eventually, this should be fully delegated as well. So they should be able to find and prospect for opportunities, but they should also know enough to weed out and vet the opportunities that they already should know or will eventually know that you probably won't be interested in. So 1, 2, 1, 2. And the good thing is these are not hard to train on, right? It is systems thinking, but it's also just doing things that are repeatable, right? So that way, if you being at the top, steering the ship, if you want to add something in or take something out, it's not a big deal. Just go in and change the criteria, and they will start reflecting that what's showing up differently from the addition or the deletion, from the prospecting or from the, I call it qualifying, but doing the bid, no bids. You know what I'm saying? So you can kind of control that, manipulate that, pull the levers as an owner who's got so much other stuff going on in your existing business. It's the bread and butter. You can't take your eyes off that. You're probably waist deep in operations with that, and probably also doing sales as an owner. The owner always does the most sales for the business typically, at least certain businesses, that's true. Small businesses, most certainly. So these two can get going pretty much in one, the first month, quite honestly, especially number two at certain levels, but number one entirely the first month. So first 30 days, take that off your plate, or if it wasn't on your plate and it just wasn't getting done, add it to their plate. So next, when it comes down to now the opportunity selection, I think it is important for you to weigh in here to do a approval of sorts. So if they can bring you some sort of bid qualification sheet, some sort of summary sheet, maybe they can put it all into even just ChatGPT and have it generate something and bring to you high level so that you can ultimately make the call to say, hey, yeah, I do want you to get started on this one. I don't want you to get started on this one. It doesn't take that long, and it's really bad if they decide to get started on something themselves, and then you're like, well, why are you working on that? I wouldn't want you to work on that. Or you say something that they didn't know. So now it's just like multiple people's time is wasted because you're looking at something that's bad and they've already worked on some of, maybe structuring an outline, maybe trying to tee up some basic pricing stuff, whatever you have them doing as your designated federal government contracting point person. You don't want them to go too far off the leash with certain things. So number three, with this opportunity approval, it's important for you to weigh in here. Like I said, you should be able to spend 15, 20 minutes, okay? But now you can do that. Don't tell me you don't have time for that. You do have time for that because we just took off number 1 and 2. And if those weren't on your plate, like I said, it's just 15 minutes to put on your plate, right? And if it's multiple things, then it can be like A, B, or C, because you're probably not going to want them to go after multiples at the same time. So then it becomes more of a comparable. You know, we have this janitorial opportunity, we have this facilities opportunity. Say we have this fire extinguisher testing, suppression, replacement opportunity. How will you then, and then they're all like good, right? They all pass their criteria. How will you then, or how will you empower them then to choose one or choose the right one? Okay, so then that conversation begins to evolve. And you can look at some of those things again, like, okay, well, what is the dollar value of these two? But other things are important too, like what's the period of performance? Is one just a base year of testing, but then the janitorial is 3 years, right? And about the location, are you still going to be using teaming partners, or are you self-performing this? How far is it? You know, maybe one opportunity is 20 minutes away, maybe one's an hour and 20 minutes away. So when you're comparing them, now you can start to look at these things. Maybe we missed that site visit, but these 2 other opportunities have upcoming site visits. Okay, so maybe we cut that one and we boil it down to these 2. And I already said it again, but dollar value is going to be significant too. And then also what's required in the proposal, you know, is one opportunity like kind of stretching it, and it requires a big proposal. You know, it has a past performance requirement, and you don't think you can really bang it out and it's going to be like a best value response. Maybe you cut it. Okay, so you can go to that level of thinking and discernment, and also eventually begin to train them somewhat. But at this stage, I like you remaining weighed in. That way, you invest a little bit of time and you potentially save a lot of wasted time. And again, all of this can be really set up in the first month, the first 30 days. I'm actually kicking off my mentorship where we will have some folks that I will be training directly on these systems. So if you're an owner watching this, you're serious, you know it's something that makes sense, I will have a link below to schedule a call with either myself or my team to see what you have going on, to see if it's going to make sense. But if you're needing training, you don't have time to babysit, and you don't have the knowledge to teach because you maybe haven't done it yourself, I can help get them up to speed. That way you can remain focused on the bread and butter income, like I said, ops, running the business, and we can get them doing 80, 90% of the work where you just have to have high level touch points to kind of keep the ball rolling, to keep things going. So keep that in mind. I will have a link down below, like my Calendly link will be down below for you to schedule that if that's something that you want to get going like soon, but especially soon after I publish this video. We're kicking off something very soon, so wanted to mention that as well. So I also wanted to talk more about the opportunity. It doesn't take long to start going after $500,000, $1 million, $2 million jobs. I know a lot of new GovCons would be like, oh, no, that's too scary. I know as an owner, you probably think that's feasible. And that might even be part of your pipeline thinking of like, oh, we want to do 1 million this year. We want to do 2 million this year in the federal arena. And you totally can. And so if this is really like your blockage holding you back, is the time and the know-how and the delegation, which kind of goes hand in hand. Once you get past that, I've seen it. There is so much opportunity. I've seen the federal book of business outgrow a 10-year book of business from an existing business. I've seen owners fire clients and customers they've had for the last 3 to 4 years because they were a pain in the butt to work with, for a customer of the federal government that pays better and is a lot more motivated to pay on time. Working with the federal government's definitely not a cakewalk. And depending on who your core is going to be on your contract, it can be very challenging. But if you're an owner, you already know what that's like. So it's not that you're trying to get away from challenging. There's always problems in business. But you're trying to grow to higher level problems, higher level thinking, higher level problems. And this delegation, this buying back your time, or this point person can be the person who allows you to break through that if you are unable to, or you do it yourself and you have somebody replace you. But I have a feeling that you're not going to do that. I have a strong feeling that you're not going to replace yourself in the commercial business to focus on something that hasn't proven itself. You're going to stick with keeping the lights on, and you're going to treat this as an investment risk opportunity, risk reward opportunity, but it's, a risk that you're wanting to take. It's something that you think has a strong chance of going in your favor. So just make sure you're finding the opportunities that you want to go after, because if they're not there, me or nobody else has that magic wand, right? But if you're, every week, every month, you're looking at opportunities, could have went after that one, could have went after that one, could have went after that one, just don't have the time, the knowledge, the know-how, and the people, then it could be a very good opportunity for you. And like I said, I've seen, a couple of years, 10 million plus in the federal space, because you just need a couple of the larger contracts for your small business. And you've already got HR set up, you've already got payroll set up, you already have the standard business practices where when you land one of those contracts, it's not going to be all of the setup. It's not going to be all of the stuff that holds back, dreamers, if you will, dreamers and dabblers who don't have a business, they don't have any revenue, you know what I mean? You do, so you're going to be in a much stronger stance rather, as well as if you're going to be getting funding, because you're going to have that to back you. So there's a few things that you can get them trained on in a short window. But more important to you, you can flip the closed sign to open in your first month. And there's going to be a bit of letting go, a little bit of trust. Might feel uncomfortable for you to have a point person if maybe you are a bit smaller and you're not used to like hiring people or delegating in that way. But that is called a growing pain. And at some stage, it's necessary for every GovCon who eventually would grow. It's necessary. But you can do it. Like, you got this. You can do it. If you've been staring at this for literal years, okay, what is that costing you in terms of energy, drain, distraction? We can only make so many decisions in a day. We can only think about so many things in a day. Well, if you weren't having to think about this in this way, what would that free up for you? Or if you're able to think about this in a way of like, wow, we're actually doing it, what energy would this give you? To be like, okay, I have my point person. Now, if you don't have a point person, I don't recommend just hiring anybody. You're going to need to be able to trust this person. If you don't have a budget for the person themselves, say you could invest in training and stuff like that, but you don't have the budget for payroll, you can do, here's what I've seen people do. All right, I see people do their spouse. Like, usually the first person you hire is your spouse. Then I've seen business partners, and I've seen owners do equity deals with business partners. So you don't put them on payroll, but you incentivize them to bring down contracts. And when they win, they get equity, or commission, perhaps. It could just be paying them out. And then the third thing I've seen, but it's more task-based, is more like interns, because you don't pay them much, but it can be a very, very low base, high commission type position. So like a sales position. And I don't know. I don't know if I believe in 100% commission for these type of opportunities, because it can be a long lead time for them to get paid. And if you're going to invest all of your time and for that person leaves after 4 months because they don't have their first, contract locked down, it feels bad, right? You really want to invest in somebody for at least a year. And then that way you have like systems, processes, you have things documented. So that way, if they do leave, you can carry that over to the next person. But you don't want to do a couple months and get them out of there. If you're doing a couple months, you're probably not doing enough on the vetting and the interview, the applicant end, right? So I just wanted to say that too. And it's not my first choice. So if spouse, colleague, business partner, not always, but these are typically folks that you can trust. And they typically have a bit more maturity, they have experience. It's not the same as like a 20-year-old kid in business school. Just because you don't have to pay them very much, it could cost a lot in terms of your time. So it's not always bad. It depends. And you want to be extra scrutinous if you're going that route, in my opinion. So if you made it this far in the video and you are not an owner, I would be surprised that you've stayed in the video. But as we wrap this up, I do have a training. I have a new training. I have my webinar training. And quite honestly, this is for owners too. So this is for everybody. This is how to win contracts fast without wasting time and money. How to win contracts fast without winning time and How to win contracts fast without wasting time and money. I won't be editing this video, so that's going to be in there. I'm really big on not wasting time and money, as you could kind of tell from the theme of this video. But I'm also big on winning contracts as quickly as possible. And it's not like get rich quick. It's not anything that's unrealistic. But it's speaking to the point, to the longer that you're in federal contracting and you're actually doing it and you're not winning, it's like the clock's ticking, because eventually you reach burnout. So that's why I want you winning as quickly as possible. I want you to put yourself in the position to win as fast and quickly as possible, so that that clock doesn't run out, or so that it doesn't get reset. But there is a big problem with folks in the space that are doing this, but they're kind of half-assing it. They got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They're just dabbling. They're just doing a little bit. That clock is ticking. It's clicking just as much as it was if you were doing this full time, or if you were an owner, or you quit your job and you do this full time, or whatever. For all avatars, for all stages, for all people, the clock ticks the same. And so you're burning time and you're burning money. So you need to have proof. You need to have validation as quickly as possible. So definitely check out the upcoming training that I have. Save your spot, save your seat. I can't talk today, apparently. So the link for that will also be down below. How to win contracts fast without wasting time and money. And at the end of that, if you stick around, if you are interested in the mentorship program, at the end of that, it will give you a link as well to schedule some time with myself or my team. Depends on who gets the calls, because we all take calls. We can talk more about what you're facing, what challenges you're facing, what is the opportunity, what is you're looking at for your business, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and to see if I can help you to bridge that gap. So let me know what you thought about this video down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you are new here. And like I said, I'd be curious to hear from some of you who are owners. If you watch this video, let me know down below that you're an owner. And if this spoke to you, do you want me to make more owner-focused, more owner-directed content? Because like I said, I typically don't. A lot of my content goes towards folks that don't have a business yet, and it's about getting into GovCon as an opportunity. But I know there are a lot of small businesses out there that are looking to add a federal contracting wing to their business. And like I said in this video, sometimes the biggest thing standing in your way, the biggest hurdle is your time, your focus, your training, and maybe having that point person. So until next time, guys, you got this, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.